So thank you, Eric, for coming on. And I would love it if you could just give us some background into Okey Family Market. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so my name is Eric Miller. My wife is Stephanie Miller. She also owns it with me. Background of Okey Family Market, man, it started from literally nothing. I didn't have a business degree, didn't graduate college. We're both locals here. I graduated Jinx. She graduated Union. I was oil field by trade. I've been working the rigs for about 8 years, and I went through the whole COVID thing when oil prices tanked, and I was very blessed to stay working on a rig. There was about 4 rigs running in New Mexico through the company I was with, and I was able to stay working. And I remember telling Stephanie that when oil starts to pick back up, we need to find a way to get a little side hustle to be able to get out of the oil field. It was, you miss your family, you're gone all the time, you save all this money, and then when oil tanks, you got to spend all that money, and it's a vicious cycle. And so back in January of 23, Stephanie and I were at home, and we kind of just thought of it. We were shopping at other little markets like ours around town, and I was just like, man, we could do something like that. Like, I love to eat. I love to eat good. Everyone likes to eat like that. So then birthed Okey Family Market. It was kind of one of those things where we live over by our original store at 51st and County Line, and I knew exactly where I wanted the store to be. I felt like the Lord led us there. Unfortunately, there was no vacant spots. I went back up to North Dakota where I was working. I was up there for 28 days, and I prayed, and I prayed. I remember sending Steph a picture with me crying in the gym because I was praying so hard about, Lord, I miss my family. I'm ready to come home. Like, what can I do? Sure enough, I finished my 28 days, and I'm home for one day, taking my kids to school, and I passed that same spot. And not only was there one lease available to rent, there was actually 2, so I was able to pick which one I wanted. And I remember calling Stephanie, like, man, we're doing it. That's it. We're doing it. We're going to call this company, and we're going to see if we can get in. She was like, are you nuts? We don't know anything about this stuff. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, it's okay. I prayed about it. Like, we're good. We got this. And fast forward, man, we just did it. We just jumped all in. I mean, all in. I put everything I had into opening that first one. And when we first opened, it was hard. It was really hard. If we didn't, I was still working the oil field. So at that point, I went from being gone for 2 weeks, and I was home for 2 weeks. So when I was gone for 2 weeks, it would be Stephanie and my mother-in-law, who we brought over to work for us full time, would do the whole store. And also we have our 2 kids at home. She's dealing with the household, getting everybody ready. And I'm still out of town working. It was hard. It was hard. Like, I remember when we first opened up, man, we used to order restocks from vendors, and not knowing what we were doing, man, I used to like write checks to vendors and like look up and be like, Lord, please just let people come into the store so these checks don't like bounce, And we went from that to fast forward 2 years later to opening up a second location over here at 131st between Elm and Aspen. And so it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride.
What was the hardest thing starting out? Just getting the word out, or what was the toughest part?
The toughest part was finding. So obviously, with Okey Family Market, our biggest enemy is sticker shock. When people come into our store, people are so used to big box stores and the convenience and the mass production of these products that they're buying at the Walmarts and so on and so forth. That was our biggest problem. And we do a 10% discount daily for military and teachers and veterans and all that. We also do a loyalty program where you get 20% off your entire purchase when you get to like 200 points. So we were always trying to to get people to come in there to just, because we knew that we had some of the best products around. You couldn't beat what we were carrying. It was just getting people in there. So we ran a lot of sales. We did a lot of Facebook ads. We did just word of mouth. And honestly, the business didn't really take off. So we opened in October of 23. I would say January of 25 is when we started doubling our monthly gross sales, like overnight. It happened overnight, honestly. And it's never slowed down, and it's never dipped. January, February's are like notorious for being slow months for small businesses. Ours I mean, we ramped up into stuff that we never thought was even possible. Like, and we just have 1,000 square foot space over there, and I was like, this is nuts. But people were ready for change. The community was ready for change. There's so much out there now about what's going on behind the scenes of where your food is coming from, and the dangers of the chemicals and the ingredients. And when you look at, I'm not going to say names of brands, but there's certain brands that are banned in other countries. They still have, they sell the same product, but it doesn't have dyes in them. It doesn't have this in them. And you're like, it makes you wonder, like, well, what in the world? Why are they allowed to sell it here? That doesn't make sense. And so it starts to makes you wonder, makes you question. So
yeah, no, I mean, when you talk about the quality of the product and the sticker shock, I mean, it's just the unfortunate thing with the whole industry itself, and there's nothing that you guys can individually do to change that. I love that you have the value programs and the rewards and all that, but like you say, our food industry here, and we don't need to talk about this the whole time, but we're being served things that are marketed as food that actually aren't even food. It's just a chemical concoction of food. I mean, I've seen, you guys have great ice cream there. I haven't tried it yet. I'm gonna try it.
Oh, that stuff is so good.
But but I even saw a thing where it was like there are some ice creams that are sold in stores that don't have enough dairy to be considered ice cream.
Right.
And you're like, what is that? What is that doing to us long term? And I guess when you see people shift their diets, I would imagine some people coming in, they're just starting to eat cleaner now.
Right.
Have you heard any stories of man, I've been noticing this in my life because of my change in my diet?
Yeah, the testimonies go on. I mean, on and on. And I wish sometimes I want to post it all on our social media. But at the same time, it's so many people that a lot of it is some older folks dealing with inflammation, and we have all the right products to deal with that, to just conquer inflammation. People that we have some wellness products that people don't want to put big pharmaceutical stuff on their body. Our holistic products are just top notch. I mean, I can go on and on. We have a product that, and the things about the products too is we personally use them in our own home, and we personally eat with the food that we sell at our store too. So one thing that we definitely pride ourselves on is we're not going to sell something that we wouldn't feed our own kids, for sure. And the great thing about Okey Family Market is we're not just another store just like texting our vendors like, hey, we need to restock, or texting our farmers or ranchers like, man, we have legit relationships with them. We go out to the farms. We know what they're doing. We know their practices. We know the feed that they're giving them. I actually just talked to one of the farmers yesterday. We were talking about some products, and he's getting married in May, and he actually invited me to his wedding. I mean, that's how close a lot of us are. And people want to know that. They want to know where their food's coming from. They want the transparency, the honesty, the integrity. Like, people are tired of it, man. And we opened up right at the right time. It was all the Lord, honestly. Yeah. So
yeah. No, I mean, I hear you talk about your faith, and you talk about your faith in the Lord, and it's just when I start thinking about food, and my wife have been on our own health journey of sorts where we're realizing here are the things that we buy and don't buy. And when I look at my cart now, even though I'm not necessarily shopping all at Okey Family Market, my cart is mostly Whole Foods, and it's just the reason I bring up faith is I realize it's not shocking that the food that's best for us is what comes from this earth. It's really not that you don't have other ingredients, but it's very clean ingredients that are whole ingredients that were how God designed them for us to consume them.
Right.
I mean,
and that's one. I mean, and that's one thing that really set us about. I mean, like I said, it all started really during COVID. It was a wild time for everybody. It doesn't matter what spectrum you're on. It was just a crazy time to be a part of. And that's when Stephanie really went down, the rabbit hole of everything. And I remember sitting on the rigs. I was in West Texas at that point. I would just see our credit card statements like, man, you're spending what for blueberries? And you're spending what for chicken breast? And I remember I came home and she made dinner, and I never ate this other big box store meat ever. It was such a distinct taste and flavor. I was like, oh, wow. And then she slowly started to incorporate different things with us. And then, it just was a domino effect. So,
because I would go out on a limb and say that that's probably not the oil rig diet.
That's not. No, it was a lot of top ramen, a lot of gas station burritos, a lot of taquitos. yeah, just quick grab stuff and get back to work. So yeah.
Did you see a change in how you started to feel after eating cleaner?
I felt great. I felt it was, yeah, I wasn't so lethargic, honestly. It was, yeah. And I think that was my biggest thing is you felt better. I mean, we all eat because we're hungry, but you know, you don't want to eat like when you eat too much sugar, you kind of go into like a sugar coma or carbs. And when you're eating differently, it's actually like nourishing your body and giving you the fuel that you actually need instead of just being like, you know, empty calories, if you will. And so it was a big change. It was a big change.
Yeah, and I'll pivot from the topic of just the wholeness of the ingredients in a bit here, but I think it is a huge component of it. I mean, I even heard, I won't even go into the brand either, but it was a big cereal company, and he's like, I don't feed my kids that.
Yeah,
and you're like, what does that say?
Yeah.
You know, about what we're putting in our diet and our kids' diet, and you know, it is always so tough, and you know, the barrier to entry to eat that way is you know, it is always the tricky part with it because we've gotten so used to you know what we think things should cost, and then what they do cost to be done the right way, so
yeah. And you know, like when you asked what was one of the hardest points, like hardest ways to get our name out there, and that was you know, when we first opened, you see these you see other markets and they have a hard time. Like, we understand now why there's not so many mom and pop grocery stores. It's hard. It's not high profit margins, it's low. And it's just tough. Like I said, everyone's so used to convenience and just running into a store and grabbing everything they need. So we really focus on, you know, the grocery essential aspect of it and the whole family unity of it all. And like I said, like we wouldn't sell anything that we wouldn't give our own kids. So I think people have learned to trust us, trust our brand, trust what we're selling. And like I've said before, they love the transparency of it too. So,
well, a big goal that I have with this podcast is just really hit on the community aspect of things. And I was curious, when it comes to where you're sourcing your products, how have you seen that maybe even lift up and give people a market to sell their stuff? Because I know that you carry lots of breads that are made by people locally, and you carry meat that's from places that are around here. You know, how have you seen that go? And I guess maybe you could talk a little more about where you're sourcing your products from.
For sure. So we currently have, with everything, I think we have 6 sourdough bread vendors that supply both stores. With that, I have ladies that are, I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of loaves of sourdough a week. Some ladies have quit their 9-to-5s and have just now been able to make a living off of just selling sourdough bread. Most of the ladies that sell with us, minus a couple, have been able to invest in like legit commercial bread ovens in their houses, which that's expensive to do. And then so they've all grown with us, and people. It's so funny because we have 6 different, but people have their own. They like certain ones, you know, and for farmers and ranchers, it's been great. You know, obviously, I'm not going to say the farm, but we got a text. It was last year at this time that from the sales he was doing at the store, they weren't struggling as much. They were able to pay their feed bills, where the previous years before our store, they didn't know what they were going to do. They relied heavily on the farmers markets, but they closed down. You know, and so we're helping bridge that gap during the off season for them, which has been great. So yeah.
I mean, and that's such a cool part of the model of the business that you're running is not only are you building something for your community and for your family and for people around you, but you're also able to provide an outlet for other businesses to sell their products and put it on the back of your brand. You're co-signing it and saying, hey, we believe in what they offer and what they sell, and that's so cool.
Yeah, it's been great. And like I said, it's been hard. It's been hard, but it's been extremely rewarding. It's been rewarding to see just a community rally around a store where everyone was like, "You're nuts! What are you doing right now? Like, you're this is not going to work. The economy can't support this. Local food's too expensive." And then it's just like, one, it's but God, and then two, it's like I said, people were ready for a change in the community. Big time. So
I would love it if you could go a little bit more into the progression of getting to the point where you're like, we're ready for another location.
Oh gosh.
And then maybe you weren't. Maybe it's just maybe it was just trust. But and then how's it been going at that new location?
Yeah.
Now you just opened up.
Yeah. So like I said, I worked the rigs for years, and honestly, I got sick and tired of missing my family. I watched my kids grow up through FaceTime, missed birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas. I missed everything. And like I said, Okey Family Market was just supposed to be a side hustle in case a downturn came in the oil to where we didn't have to change our lifestyle too much if I got laid off. But there was different plans, and it took off to a way to where back in July of 25, I was literally sitting on a rig, and I was like, look, I'm done. Like it wasn't fair to the guys I was working with either, because I was just miserable to be around up there. And I remember calling my wife, Stephanie, just like, I think I'm done. She's like, oh, you've said that before. And I was like, no, I think this is it. And then like next thing I know, like I'm calling my boss and I'm like, hey, I'm putting my 2 weeks in. I'm done. I finished out my hitch there, came home, drove home from North Dakota, 18 hours just straight through. Came home, pulled in my driveway, and it was just like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? I remember thinking like, oh my goodness, like the comfort of, consistent paycheck to now being full-blown entrepreneur. And so I was home for about 3 weeks, and the lady that helps run the property at our first store came in and shops with us regularly. She's like, hey, I saw on social media that you came home full-time. You ready to do a second store? And I was like, huh? Like, yeah, we'll give it a shot. Let's go look at the property. And I drove over there, and the same feeling I got about my first location, I got over there, and instantly I was ready to do a deal instantly. And yeah, it took time. There's negotiations that went back and forth. It was a brand new build, so obviously it was, it was tough getting going. But so far, it's been great. It's been good. Every neighbor that's came in, we haven't heard anything bad. It's been all, we're so glad there's finally something useful on this side of town over here. And so it's been good. It's been really good.
Well, and that store is in an area that's only going to get more and more booming.
Right.
I mean, I know they're building development after development, apartment complexes, shopping. Like, it's going to be an area that you might even still be a little bit earlier in the plans that the city has for it, which who knows what'll come with that.
I know there's so much growth over there. It's nice to see. I know a lot of the folks that we've had a lot of old timers that have lived over there for 30, 40 years. And there was nothing there. And so they're happy to now just not have to leave their little, their area over here. So, South Broken Arrow is really, really exploding. So is North Broken Arrow, their other store. It's really exploding over there too. So it's just, I feel like I've said it before, the Lord had his hand in this from the very beginning. Business 101 is location, location, location. And like, who would have thought, so it's been fun. It's been a wild ride so far. So
yeah. Well, when we talk about community and how you're able to bring other businesses in, I guess I want to ask, how can the community support you guys? I mean, obviously coming in and shopping, but what are the best ways that the community can support you guys in your new location?
Yeah. So what's been really cool is our social media has just like out of nowhere, like that happened, like all the likes, the shares, the comments, the interactions. People see that. And it's not just local people. We get stores from Kentucky and Florida and Georgia. They're all reaching out to us like, what is your guys' blueprint? How in the world did you set this up? How did you guys do that? So just that, the interaction, the sharing, the leaving reviews on Google, on our Facebook, all that, just telling friends, word of mouth is phenomenal. When we first started, we did a lot. I spent a lot of money on Facebook ads, a lot. Luckily, we don't have to do that anymore. But, we're spending a good chunk to get the word out there, and but like I said, now we don't have to do that. So that's nice, because that's money that we don't have to spend doing that. But that would be the biggest way, obviously, besides coming in and supporting the obvious. But yeah, just the word of mouth, just the social media. And like I said, like we have been able to bring in some thoughtfully sourced non-local products as well. And when you deal with some of these bigger brands that you're bringing in that are very well known and good, they check out your social media before they agree with you. And like, we're getting agreements and deals with them based off of the community, and they see the interaction, and they're like, you're just a little family grocery store. How do you have, how are you doing that? And so, so it's been, that would be one way for sure. So.
From an outside perspective, I just see like the authenticity of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and like when I went in, I've only been once to the one in Broken Arrow, but amazing staff. I don't remember the girls' names who were in there, but I kept them probably longer than they wanted. just chatting about life and where they moved from and where they're at now, and they're showing me the whole selection and giving me recommendations. Yeah. And I even bought some flour that I freshly milled for my wife, who's now making sourdough.
Oh, nice.
And, no, that's really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, and so our staff is like, man, it started with, like I said, myself, my wife, and my mother-in-law. And then we grew to this customer came in. Her name is Cassie. She works at our store as well. She came in one day, and she had shopped at our store for months, and she was becoming a regular. And she went to school to be a dental hygienist. She was a dental hygienist, and she wasn't anymore. She quit. And she said, the Lord told me to come work for you guys. And I was like, we're not there yet. Like, that's a lot. Like, I've never done payroll. Like, I didn't know. And so we hired her, and she was, such a blessing to us. She knew the products already. She was like-minded with us. Well, then fast forward, then it's like, we're starting to grow even more. So then we hire her son, and it's like, oh, dang, we're starting to grow anymore. We hire her daughter, and I'm like, oh, man, we're starting to grow even more. Like, we're about to do a second location. So then we hire one of our vendors, and then we hire another lady who they shopped at our store a lot as well. So it's all been, very close-knit people that we could trust and we knew, and they knew the products and stuff. So I'm so happy to hear that, though. I'm glad that they were good to you.
Yeah, no, so good. And they humored all of my questions and conversation. And I would love it if you could go a little bit more into like your product selection. We don't have to go through every single item, but like, what do you sell? What do you carry? What are people mostly coming in for?
Yeah, so obviously the top sellers are going to be your main necessities: your milk, your eggs, your breads. Meats are a huge thing. All of our beef is going to be grass-fed, grass-finished. We don't bring in anything that's grain, not to knock anything that's grain-fed. Like, that is, to each their own on that. But with us, we do grass-fed, grass-finished. Our pork is going to be so everything is pasture-raised. We do a pasture-raised turkey as well. We do ground turkey, corn-free, soy-free. Chickens pasture-raised, corn-free, soy-free. Same with pork, pasture-raised, corn-free, soy-free. All of our sourdough is going to be 100% organic with organic ingredients in it. All the way down to milk is going to be, we have an A2 dairy out of Lahoma, Oklahoma. And then we also use Swans out of Claremore, which on this side of the state, people know more about Swans. Produce season, we link up with, produce season is wild. And that's a wild time.
Yeah.
So we'll link up with multiple produce vendors. And then, like I said, we carry some non-local items as well, protein powders and chips and just different things like that. But, it's just everything in there is, no dyes, no artificial flavors, no high fructose corn syrup. So a lot of people have really appreciated that you can come in there. I still encourage you to read the labels, for sure. Make sure it's everything that you are looking for. But we do that as well for you. So we do the legwork, so you can just grab and go and not have to sit there and Google all these scientific words, and you're like, what in the world is this? So yeah.
Yeah, we got a really good blueberry pancake mix that we had. Blueberry pancake mix, and I got some eggs, and it's good stuff.
Yeah,
we
that's
just busted into the first loaf with the fresh flour today.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
Definitely different than regular store-bought flour.
Yeah.
Surprisingly different.
Well, it's not stripped as well either. A lot of the store-bought stuff is, they strip all the nutrients. That's why it sits on a shelf for 3 weeks, doesn't mold, doesn't crater, doesn't do any, you know what I mean? So our stuff is, 5 days max, max on stuff. So that's another thing that's great is the community has supported us so much that we're restocking, every day, constant. It's a lot. There's a lot of restocks coming in, but it keeps the inventory fresh. So you're getting fresh stuff all the time. It's always fresh because it's always moving out. So.
And I'll say I've seen the rise of interest in making sourdough on social media, and every other wife is making sourdough now, and a bunch of my friends who are newly married and their wives are taking on sourdough. And I'll say, I know at a point I was looking at grain mills for at home and what berries to buy and all this, and they actually have a grain mill that you can use there. I think, is that the right term? A grain mill, or you can pick from a couple different types of berries, which I didn't even know they were called wheat berries. And you can put them in, and you can get however much you want, and just buy it that way. So you don't have to buy the equipment, buy the gear. It's quick and easy.
That's been a huge thing. People have really loved that. We went ahead and just invested in a Nutri-Mill stone mill, and we've been able to carry. So we got hard red, hard white, soft white, kamut flour, einkorn flour. You pick whatever you want. They're all used for different types of baking. And instead of investing in a $400 or $500 mill, you can just mill it right there for free, And so people have they've really appreciated that a lot, which has been nice. So
yeah. Well, that covered a lot of what I really want to talk to you about. I guess maybe you could say where both locations are, and then that's the main thing.
Perfect. Yeah, for sure. So our original location is at 4924 South 193rd East Avenue. So that's 51st and County Line. And our new second location is at 912 West Jasper Street, which is 131st between Elm and Aspen. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super grateful you built that spot where you're at, and just hearing your story and seeing where the business has been. I think the really cool part that I'm really trying to hit on, more than just the products, more than what you offer, is I think it's easy to look at a business like Okey Family Market that has good branding, it has a polished look, the social media is booming, and miss the story behind where it is. Right. It is the struggle behind it, and it is the sleepless nights, and it's the time away from family before getting to this point. And I spoke with a gentleman just before you came in here, and he's working full time, and he's starting something to help his community as well. And I think those stories are really what, to me, matters more than the business itself. Is who are the people behind the business, and my hope is that in a community like this, which what I've seen is that people want to support you even more because they know your story. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate you coming on and for the conversation.